What is up everyone, and welcome to some more F1 22. Last time out we had the Austrian Grand Prix, and after a strong sprint race we couldn't quite convert it to a good result in the actual race. This time around it's France, one of my strongest circuits, somewhere I've won before, so I'm hoping that this is going to be a good race, but obviously that is going to be dependent on a number of factors. And one of the first things that we're gonna be looking at once I choose which activities we're doing and look at this message that tells us we're slowly getting worse than everyone around us still. The first thing we've got to do is renegotiate our teammate's contract, and he ain't doing it. He says he wants the team to be 10th or better in terms of the performance standings, so yeah, we can't negotiate with him. Just speed through here because I have a look at all the options available to me, or at least most of them. Yeah, go through all of these. Obviously I'm not going to sign any of the slightly lower down ones, and then eventually I settle on this man here, Robert Schwartzman, and we're going to approach him and see what he says, whether he wants to join the team or not. I compare him to Christian Lundgaard and he just seems better in every way. Well, not better, but at least as good in every way. And yeah, so here we got the option to make a low risk, medium risk or high risk offer. See no reason not to make a low risk offer, especially because they use that money to put into other things like driver perks and things like that. And Robert Schwartzman is now a Jaguar racing driver for the next 11 races minimum, and maybe if things go well perhaps he'll want to stay for the following season. And now we have the money to do a department upgrade, and we're going to do a fabrication upgrade to our engine department, which means we'll now be able to fabricate 2 parts at once in our engine department if we have sufficient resource points. And now once that is on the car, we will be, or when that facility upgrade is done, I should say, that will allow us to do more upgrades because the facility spec will have increased, which will unlock more upgrades. There was an event which was just saying you can sabotage your driver's focus for more resource or for more acclaim, and I didn't think so, because I think Schwartzman getting a good result in his first race is very important, because that's going to be good for his morale, and for his, his focus could plummet even further. Now the powertrain facility has been improved, which will allow us to do more upgrades. We can't afford anything at the moment, but I'm sure after practice we might be able to get some of these, maybe with a development boost and whatnot. So yeah, it's going to be a bit of a wait before we get any of that stuff on the car. Now yeah, that's Chris just telling us about the facility upgrade. That is fine.
Our new parts have completed without issue. They'll be on the car, ready for the next race weekend.
Still nothing that we can afford in any department at the moment, with only 450 resource points, and we're not going to get any more resource points now before the next race weekend. So yeah, we could afford the roll dampers, but we're already doing a chassis department upgrade. We can only do one chassis thing at a time, so yeah, that's whatever. Durability wise, there actually is an upgrade we can do, and I think we are going to put that on the car, because obviously our reliability hasn't been fantastic. We've had 2 DNFs, and I think Lundgaard had a DNF as well, and also like everything's just been kind of messing up a little bit. So yeah, ideally we want to get some more things on the car. So now we are heading into the Pirelli Hot Lap, which is going to be a checkpoint challenge. I'm not going to show you any of this because it's not really important, but you know the general gist of the checkpoint challenge. You reach the checkpoints, it adds more to the timer, and when the timer runs out, however far you've driven, that's the medal you get. And we got a gold medal by quite a significant margin, so that's nice. 1,000 acclaim, $100,000. Which means now we actually could afford another facility upgrade, but I think I wanted to go for another engine department upgrade, because whilst fabrication is good, a lot of the more expensive engine upgrades that we're unlocking are going to cost, or they're going to take a really long time. So I'd like to improve the build time on that, and so that's probably the next thing we'll go for. So now we're just looking through, and we're seeing what upgrades we've got going on at the moment. Look at the performance standings, and we're still pretty slow compared to all the other cars. Williams and Aston Martin have massively pulled away. So I think every race for the foreseeable future we're going to be finishing towards the back of the grid, and yeah, we're gonna have to just bide our time for now, and yeah, just check to make sure all the components on our car are good. We're going to change the MGUH and finally change the turbocharger. That lasted a little while. Our energy store is actually still doing well, so that we're probably going to get away with not taking a penalty for. But I would be surprised if anything else here lasts, like the spec of components we've got lasts the whole season. I think we're going to get a lot of penalties in the second half of the season here. And that is now, I think, everything we're going to do before the race weekend. And we can finally get into first practice, which is going to be useful for determining what my pace looks like around here. You may have seen in the workspace beforehand that it's most likely going to be wet qualifying and a wet race, or at least a rain-affected race, even if it doesn't rain the whole time. So here we see my my race pace, and you see the tyre wear was good and the pace was very good compared to where we should be. So I was optimistic about qualifying, but like I said, obviously it is going to be raining, so I'm sure that the rain will neutralise this to some degree, as it usually does. It's never particularly easy when it's raining, because the AI is just extremely superior when affected by wet weather. So yeah, that is going to be probably our downfall, and probably the reason why we will be lucky to make it out of Q1. So yeah, I'm just sort of managing my expectations for that session, and I will be very happy if it's anything other than a Q1 exit. But obviously, first goal, out qualify Schwartzman. It's his first race for the team, and I think we would be fools if we got shown up by a brand new driver to the sport when we've already done 11 races. We should be showing him the ropes, not the other way around. So that is practice done. You see, we got some development boosts and whatnot on the car. And next up is qualifying. I think first we're going to look at doing an upgrade for the engine, and as you see, that's not going to be on until the Italian Grand Prix, which we've got 4 races that we've got to contend in before such time. So yeah, a long way away, and for that reason, that's a big reason why I want to get a build time facility upgrade for our engine department. And now it is time to get into qualifying, and you see it is raining to some degree. I think this probably looks like inters conditions rather than full wet, but it's impossible to tell. Here we are on my first flying lap, the end of my first flying lap. It's a 1:41.2, which is not particularly fast. You see Latifi even goes faster than us there, so we're going to need some significant improvement if we want to make good on our qualifying session. And it's only a 0.2 improvement on our second flying lap, which is good enough to put us in P19. So it was a Q1 exit, but we did out qualify Schwartzman at least, and a few other people as well. Even if we showed a lot more pace in the practice session, but you know, that's fine, because maybe in the dry part of the race we will be able to do something. But we get ahead of Latifi and we get ahead of Joe, so yeah, I think eventually we might be able to maybe get ahead of the other Williams and maybe the Aston Martins as well in the race. But it's impossible to tell. It really is not easy to tell whether you're gonna finish ahead of them or not until the race weekend actually, or the race itself actually kicks off. Vettel pulling ahead more in this rivalry. Obviously had the DNF last time out, which kept us in touch with him, but I mean, he's not going to have a lot of DNFs, and you never know what could happen with us. We've already had one in the last couple of races, and I mean, the game only DNFs me when I'm in the points anyway, so yeah, our next one probably isn't coming until, I don't know when we'll next be in the points. Probably Brazil or something like that, because I usually go quite well around there, but I don't know for certain. That's everything for qualifying. You know, I'm not overly displeased with that result. P19 is actually pretty solid for the, you know, where our car is at the moment, but I felt like I could have done more. And now it's time to get into the race.
Welcome from the Circuit Paul Ricard, current home of the French Grand Prix, an event dating all the way back to 1906. Now, it's been held at many venues over the years, with famous moments from Dijon and Manicourt, the feature of many a highlights reel. So let's hope we see more of those in the race today. We have 15 corners here at the Circuit Paul Ricard, 6 to the left and 9 to the right, but the rain is coming down and making for a slippery racing surface. Luckily, there is plenty of runoff area available, and hopefully we'll be able to avoid bringing out a safety car during today's Grand Prix. Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks like for today's race. An immense lap from Lewis Hamilton yesterday puts him on pole position. And starting next to them is George Russell. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Leclerc, Verstappen, Carlos Sainz and Perez, Norris, Ricciardo, Mick Schumacher and Valtteri Bottas, Fernando Alonso, Ocon, Pierre Gasly and Vettel, Stroll, Albon, Kevin Magnussen and Robinson, Joe, Schwartzman, Tsunoda, they've taken a grid penalty, and Nicholas Latifi. That's it then, it's time to go racing as we head down trackside for today's race. It's not going to be plain sailing for our drivers today, although with the sky falling as it is, perhaps sailing isn't too far from the truth. Natalie Pinkham, good to have you with us here today. Your thoughts?
It is a touch damp, isn't it? As a driver, there are 3 big things to worry about when racing in these conditions: standing water, tyre temperature and visibility. Judging distance to the cars around you is really tricky when you're driving through the vast amounts of spray that these wet weather Pirelli tyres kick up.
Okay, this is our engine supplier's home Grand Prix, so let's give them a race worth watching.
Yeah, that's not really how it works. I can't just extract more pace from the car than the car has. But you know, I'll see what I can do. Maybe I'll be able to make up a couple positions. I think Magnussen got a penalty or something, which is why he's starting 17th here. And maybe Tiffy and Tsunoda took penalties as well. So yeah, we're starting P18 in this race, and we definitely got the potential to get up into sort of maybe P14, I think, with the pace that we have with the cars around us. But then again, this Haas is I think it's the 4th best car on the grid at the moment, so it's going to be a tough battle with them as we come back to the grid to line up in our grid slot. Let's see how we do. Flames, absolute flames. So yeah, that's going to be that for the formation lap, and now we're getting ready to start. The lights come on, and the lights go out, and here we go. It's a good start. We're immediately challenging with Magnussen as we come away from the line, but I mean, pretty much instantaneously he starts pulling away. I got no idea why. I have to kind of take evasive action there because Guanyu Zhou was really not giving me enough room. And then we got Tsunoda on our outside challenging us as well. We have to give him the space, and you see I got nothing to fight with really. I try and dive back down the inside of him, and we can try and stick around the outside. I almost go into the back of Albon there. I think maybe we make contact, but just about managed to keep the position ahead of Tsunoda. And Magnussen kind of brake checks me a little bit there, which gives me a terrible run coming into the long DRS straight, and you need pace here, so Sonoda will probably get ahead of me here for sure, and also possibly Joe, maybe even Latifi as well. And you know, who knows? I have to go defensive to the inside. This kind of compromises my run coming into this corner, and we challenge Sonoda, but I guarantee with the traction he's going to get, yeah, it's like it's not even raining. And now here comes Latifi on the outside and Schwartzman on the inside. I have to brake early, otherwise we are going to have an accident, and I'm kind of in no man's land. But I do challenge Schwartzman down into this this hairpin, and I also the second apex of the hairpin, I also get Latifi back. So we're back up into P20 for now. And Sector 3. Sector 3 is kind of our bread and butter because there's not many long straights here, and there's lots of like flowing corners, which is about the only place where the AI isn't faster than us, because it's like aero dependent, and our aero package is actually pretty strong. We've developed a lot in terms of aero, so yeah, we are able to contend with the aero of the cars around us. But in terms of straight line speed and you know, drag and things like that, we're just getting massively outpaced by the cars around us. And I don't know if it's an AI thing, if it's an upgrades thing. It's hard to tell. But as you see here, we're starting to catch up to like Sonoda and Joe in front of us. Like their pace is not super mega. And you know, we're able to close them down a little bit, especially through this sector. We're almost back within a second now, and perhaps by the time we get to the line, we will be within a second of them, because through these final, like these slower corners, we are just a lot faster. But then obviously as we go down the straights, you see there, I didn't have a bad entry, or a bad exit rather, to that corner, but you see as we come down the straight, Sonoda pulls 5/10, and that's not even a particularly long straight, and he's 5/10 faster than me through that straight. It's a little bit absurd, but you know, what can you do apart from just do what you can? And yeah, so that's gonna be that. In terms of this sort of not fight with Sonoda and Joe, but the likelihood of me catching them, because even if I am faster through a lot of the corners, they are just so much faster through the straights. It is impossible to contend with them. No matter how hard I try, I can't. You know, I'm driving at 100%, and none of the sort of problems I have when it comes to keeping pace with the cars around me is my fault, if that makes sense, because I catch them consistently through the corners a lot of the time. Obviously not the front runners or anything like that, but like these guys I catch through the corners. Oh, Sonoda's got a puncture. Okay, so that's one place made up at least. I don't know what happened there. I think maybe he ran over some debris, or he ran over a curb wrong or something like that, but there, the car just, the tyre just completely went. So yeah, that sucks for him. But as you see, now we're on to lap 4, and Joe actually is starting to get away from me a little bit more. So yeah, it's gonna be tricky to stay with him. I think the tyres are not fantastic. Obviously, we're on full wets here at the moment, and I think we're starting to move back towards intermediate territory. So yeah, it's gonna be a bit of an issue to stay with the cars, because they don't really get affected by the different tyres. So we're gonna need to try and find the right time to pit for intermediate tyres, see if we can find the right window. And here we are at the end of lap 7, and eventually I do check the weather. It says we're looking at 10 more minutes of rain, but it also says that Inters seem like the fastest tyre. So I decide that I am going to switch my next pit stop from wets to Inters, and then I'm going to call to come in at the end of this lap, because I think that is going to be the way to get ahead of some of these cars by switching to Inters now. But then again, For these guys, wets and inters are the same thing depending on how much rain there is. They're not affected by things like, I think AI, just for whatever reason, don't have any like semblance of tire temperature or something like that. So yeah, we just have nothing to fight them with whatsoever. You see that the likes of Joe and Magnussen have pulled away massively. The MFD comes up with the exact same strategy as the one that I've put myself on, so there's no reason not to accept it. And now Schwartzman and Latifi are just all over the back of me because I can't fight them with anything. You know, they've got such superior traction. They're now superior through the corners because the tyres are getting a bit hot because it's not really full wet conditions anymore. It's just so like frustrating how I can't fight with these guys. So now we're looking at Schwartzman, number 83. He's the purple car behind. He almost goes into the back of me, or maybe he does there, as he's desperately trying to find a way through. And as we come around the last few corners, he eventually does find a way through. You see I'm going into the pits though, and he moves out of the way and turns into Latifi. And you see here, Latifi is out as a result of that. He busted one of Latifi's tyres. And that is the end of Latifi's race, and a safety car is called as we come into the pits. So this actually plays into our hands quite nicely because it means that we're not going to lose too much time throughout the safety car stop. But I imagine lots of other cars are going to come in sooner rather than later. So now we put the inters on. It's an optimal stop, 2.5 seconds, and we're able to come back out ahead of Tsunoda, but behind everyone else. And obviously Tsunoda is going to catch up eventually. A few people are still out there on wets and need to come in to stop.
Okay, slow down. Your delta's negative, which means you're going too fast. Reduce your pace.
And you're going to be hearing that a lot because I'm not very good at maintaining the delta, especially in wet conditions where it expects you to go really slowly around the corners. So I consistently kind of have problems with maintaining the delta. But yeah, this safety car could be a good opportunity for us to get back into this race. Now we're on inters, but given that the track's drying, eventually these guys inters are going to start acting like slicks, and then they're going to start pulling away from us once again. So yeah, we're not going to have a good time in this race, I don't think, unfortunately. I think we'll be fortunate to make up many more positions. You see we're now P19 as Schwartzman has also pitted for the intermediate tyre, and maybe he had to do a front wing change as well. Sainz, Norris and Hamilton actually come in surprisingly late, which means they're going to be behind me as well. And when he said that, I thought about boxing again to put a set of softs on, but I thought it was still too wet for that. I had a look at the weather, but yeah, it didn't seem like dries with the good tyre for this moment, as the safety car's about to come in, and I'm kind of gonna, I don't know, be a bit sort of Verstappen-esque with Joe Guan Yu in front, because I want to make up this position on him, and I don't think I'm going to be able to do that through pure pace, so I'm going to be a bit cheeky. And you know, the bigger buffer of cars I have behind me, the higher likelihood I'll have of not finishing absolute last. But you know, this car at the moment is just, you know, 2021 Haas, 2017 Sauber, 2016 Manor levels of uncompetitive compared to all the cars around it. We just, you know, no matter what we do, I don't see a world in which we're ever getting into the points with the car we've got, unless there is an absolutely chaotic race in front of us. And even then, it would have to be a chaotic race where everyone DNFs as we go racing once again and move on to lap 13. And I think with the caliber of the cars that we have immediately behind, Hamilton, Sainz, Norris, we're not going to P16 for much longer. You know, we'll give it everything, but you see his straight line speed is, you know, is already challenging me, and he just goes sailing through that corner and somehow makes it. That was a very gutsy overtake from him. We'll try and go back around the outside, but all that does is kind of compromise our run through this section of corners. and now we've got Sainz all over the back of us, and he's probably going to get ahead of us in this long straight, even without DRS. You know, we're burning all of our battery, but his engine is just a little bit faster at the moment, I guess, and that's fine. So he gets through there. We do challenge him back as we come through this chicane, and we momentarily get back ahead of him. But when I say momentarily, I mean literally for a moment. I know which line I want to take here, so I move to the outside, but Norris is already massively ahead of me by the time that we get that far. We actually go off the track there trying to defend the position, but yeah, that's whatever. And now we find ourselves down in P19 once again. We've got Tsunoda and Schwartzman behind us. Tsunoda's already got a puncture, but that safety car played very nicely into his hands as it's allowed him back into this race. And now we're going to be doing, as you see, Hamilton, Norris and Sainz all doing battle in front of us. We're going to be doing battle with Tsunoda and Schwartzman behind us, I imagine, as Tsunoda obviously is going to have supreme traction compared to me as we exit that corner. I think he probably won't be fast enough to challenge us into this fast right-hander, but the further we get through the lap, the more likely he is to challenge us, as we do our best to avoid a track limits warning there. Just about stay ahead through this tight hairpin, but you know, he's gonna have strong pace all around, and we're gonna be very lucky to keep him behind, I think. Here you see we're gonna move to action cam, and Tsunoda is gonna be hounding us the whole way through these final corners before we get to the line. And he won't have DRS because it's not enabled yet, but he will have superior straight line speed. He moves to the outside, and yeah, by the time we get to the braking zone, he's a full car in front. So that is not something that we're able to contend with. On lap 15 now, and now the next car we're going to try and have to keep behind is our teammate Robert Schwartzman. It would be pretty embarrassing if we were beaten by Schwartzman on his first race, but we just have no pace, it seems, whatsoever. DRS is now enabled, so we are gonna attempt to come in for slicks at the end of this lap, I think. You see, I'm actually fiddling about with this whilst also battling with Schwartzman. We set to mediums because I don't think a set of softs is going to go the whole way, or it will be massively slow towards the end of the race. And yeah, we are going to box for a set of mediums now, which I think will probably do 12 laps quite nicely. That's the tyre that I anticipate most of the others are going to come in on, but yeah, I don't think it's going to make too much of a difference, unfortunately. And we're just going to have to do what we can with regards to the pace of the cars around us. Schwartzman's still hounding us as we come through these final corners. You know, he's like right on the back of us now, and he's going to have superior traction here, which means he might get ahead. But it remains to be seen. And yeah, they say that their new strategy is available in the MFD, and once again, it's exactly the same strategy as the one that I've already put myself on. So I guess I'm a strategic genius. But it doesn't make any difference. Sainz, I think you saw changing his front wing there, so there's a potential for me to come out ahead of him through this pit stop if we get another optimal stop, and it's pretty good on my side. Let's see how good the pit guys do. Perfect.
Looks like a nice stop time. We're happy with that one.
And we are ahead of Sainz, crucially, so that's another guy that we can race for, you know, a few seconds before he eventually gets ahead of us, no doubt. So yeah, lap 16, we're about 2 seconds ahead of Sainz, so I imagine it'll be a lap or so before he gets ahead of us, and then you see the end of lap 16 as everyone else, including Tsunoda and Schwartzman, coming into the pits. We'll see where we come out. Will we be ahead of Schwartzman? Just about. So we re-overtook him through the pit phase. I'm guessing Tsunoda must have had a front wing change or something, but he'll no doubt catch up. Sainz got ahead of us, and now he's challenging Magnussen, so perhaps we'll be able to get involved in this battle a little bit. We try and go to the inside, but Magnussen just covers us off quite well. We momentarily get ahead of him, but I'm sure he will probably get ahead through this DRS zone. especially with DRS. We also will have DRS, but our battery in the dry does not last very long, unfortunately. And you see I'm not even showing that move. Magnussen, yeah, already got ahead of us. Schwartzman gets ahead of me on lap 19. Here we are now, and now Tsunoda's caught up to the back of this train as well. And we're gonna have a hard time keeping him behind through this DRS zone. Even like I said, even with DRS, we just don't have enough to fight with the cars around us at the moment. There's no pace, and Tsunoda is closing us down. I think maybe we'll just be ahead with the DRS coming into this braking zone, but it's not going to be enough. And yeah, he's going to have superior traction here, and I wouldn't be surprised if he goes for a move into this fast right-hander. We'll have to wait and see what happens. This has been a pretty eventful race, though. So yeah, Tsunoda's now ahead of us. We'll see. We can't go for our signature move. He doesn't really give us the space. He's got the grip going into this hairpin, so there's not much I can do. And yeah, we're gonna retain P21 for the time being. I think that's probably going to be the maximum we can extract from this race, but I guess that remains to be seen. It really depends on what happens in front of us. You know, maybe there'll be a few more retirements. There's usually at least a couple each race, but you never know. And yeah, we still got the DRS, but with the superior straight line speed of the cars in front of us, there's just no way that we're going to be able to hold them up. Schwartzman actually goes deep there. I don't know if he locked up or whatever, but that allows us to get back past him momentarily. I'm sure he will eventually get ahead of us, but for the time being, we're able to hold him behind. Now here we are on lap 23, and you see he's sizing up a move on me in the same position I overtook him a few laps ago, and it's actually a nice wheel-to-wheel battle. I believe it is me on the right of your screen and him on the left. No, he's the one on the left, sorry, and I'm the one on the right. And you see I challenge him back into the next few sections of corners, so now I'm ahead as we come down in the run towards the straight, and as we come up the hill, it's me who's ahead, which means it's Schwartzman who's going to have the DRS, and I imagine that's not going to end well for me. So yeah, me with number 36 in front, Schwartzman number 83 behind, and with the DRS and probably more battery, he is able to breeze past, and that's probably going to be the end of the battle between me and him, because he definitely has the better pace throughout this track, from what I've seen so far this weekend at least, and I see no reason why that would suddenly change. But who knows? Now lap 26, here we are on this lovely shot of the battle between Tsunoda and Joe, and Joe just goes straight on. I don't really know what happened there, but it didn't look like he even tried to brake until much too late, so I don't know why he was doing that, but that's what he did, and it has allowed myself and Schwartzman to catch up a little bit, but I don't think it's going to be enough for us to overtake him. You'll see again from our perspective, they're sort of 8 seconds up the road, and then as they do that battle, the yellow flag is going to come out, and yeah, Joe is off the road going massively slowly, and by the time he gets up to pace and whatnot, we are within probably about 3 or 4 seconds of him. But yeah, it's not going to be quite enough for us to catch up to him, unfortunately. So yeah, he's going to retain that P19, but Tsunoda with a decent recovery after all the incidents that he's had over the course of the race so far. And now here we are on lap 27. I barely even noticed that transition, actually. That was very smooth for you know, each position on lap 26 versus 27. Charles Leclerc wins the race. Verstappen says the fastest lap, but yeah, after a decent result for Verstappen, actually Perez steals fastest lap off of his teammate. After a decent result for Verstappen winning in Red Bull Ring in their home territory in Austria, it's Charles Leclerc instantly striking back in France in sort of I suppose a pseudo home race for him. You know, Monaco and France very close, so I'm sure there will be a lot of Leclerc fans here today at the French Grand Prix, and also cheering on the likes of Ocon and Gasly. But we're just not quite fast enough to maintain position with Schwartzman, and so in the end of the race, it is only good enough for P21, and that is a pretty brutal result
Park firm, eh?
unfortunately for us. Nothing we could do though. No pace whatsoever, and we really need to look into why this is. Maybe we need to look into it from an upgrades perspective, or maybe Codemasters needs to look into it. But yeah, I don't know.
Natalie Pinkham, how do you think they were able to set themselves apart today?
Well, this was a real team victory. They put together a solid strategy today that appeared well suited to the conditions out on track. The driver did everything that was expected of them in the moment to really execute the team's plan to perfection. A shining example of how F1 really is a team sport.
Ferrari are at it again. An excellent performance at today's Grand Prix, and they're certainly a team that know what they're doing out there.
So that's Leclerc P1, Russell P2, and Verstappen P3. I'm not sure if Sainz was even in the points, so that's going to be good for Russell's championship chances as well as Leclerc's, as they gain some position over their nearest rival. I don't know where Hamilton finished either. I think Perez was probably 4th. But yeah, it's a very tight battle at the top. And both Sainz was out of the points and Hamilton only got 1. So yeah, these are the standings.
Come on, who do you pick?
Well, Lance Stroll would be my pick. He managed to keep a cool head today whilst pushing through the field.
It's time to see how things are shaping up in the Constructors' Championship. Ferrari continue to extend the gap at the top of the table. Meanwhile, good work from Aston Martin this weekend, who pushed themselves further up the order. It's been an absolutely wild weekend of Formula One action. I can't wait to see what's next.
Pretty tough weekend for us, all things considered. But you know, I wasn't expecting our pace here to be fantastic. There's a couple of really long straights and a lot of straight line speed requiring sections to this track. So to get P21 isn't a particularly nice feeling, but it's kind of it was realistic, and I kind of expected it coming into this race weekend. You know, we had a lot of nice battles with all the teams around us, so that was at least something that we got to enjoy in this race, even if we ended up coming off the weaker of the pack. And I don't know, maybe I just need to get my elbows out more, but the AI love to get their elbows out more, and they are, like, in this game they're rock solid. Like, if you and the AI get involved in a crash, you're coming worse off every single time, and that's just a fact. Like, those cars are absolute tanks. And I've got nothing that I can do. If I get my elbows out and I get involved in contact, it's going to be me who loses out. So I can't really do too much for fear of a struggle against these guys. You can see a replay of this really nice move that I pulled off, the sort of the double overtake through the hairpin on both Schwartzman and Latifi. So that was a nice move, and I was pretty happy with that one. But that was probably the only really nice overtake that I made all weekend, which is a bit of a shame to say, but it is what it is. I don't remember what happened on lap 8. This was where the contact between Schwartzman and Latifi happened. I don't know. We're going to see it from my onboard perspective. You see, he just clatters into the side of him there. But that's a pretty sad way for Latifi's weekend to end. He's kind of a passenger in that. It was Schwartzman just swerving into him, and maybe some improvements to Schwartzman's racecraft needed. You know, I can't say for certain, but it didn't really seem like Latifi's fault in that moment. But I'm sure that Schwartzman with his media training will be able to figure out how to pin that one on Latifi instead of himself. And yeah, that was that. And yeah, Vettel pulling ahead of us more in this rivalry. I guess you go up against the champ and you're gonna get burned or whatever. But I thought maybe things would be a bit better. Schwartzman now up to a claim level 7, which obviously increases his value. Maybe he'll be a claim 9 by the end of the season. We'll have to see. Depends on his results, I suppose. And yeah, we passed both sponsor targets at least, so that's something to take away. But that's going to be it for this weekend. If you enjoyed, then please like and subscribe, and check out all the links in my description. And hopefully, I will see you in the next one.